No worry, I'll take over. Thank you. So, hi everyone, I'm Toby, and I'm going to talk about Zoraxy, a general-purpose HTTP reverse proxy and forwarding tool. So, I'm Toby Choi. I'm the primary author of this project, and there are two main contributors of this project, including Alan Young and Passive Lemon, who is a Docker maintainer. Alan Young mainly handle the ACME and TLS. So, if something screw up, go find them. All right. 2 years ago, I'm a completely networking noob. I have no idea about any networking concepts. I don't know how to host my own website. I don't know what is subdomain. I don't know how to set up multiple websites without the port part in the URL. So that is why I started to research about these topics right here. So I guess most of you here have a little to no background in self-hosting, right? Anyone know how to self-host your own websites or something like that? Okay, a few. All right. So no worry, I will just go through the simple here. So first of all, I will talk about the basic of reverse proxy and why they are commonly used in home lab setups. What is a home lab? A home lab can be as simple as an OPC in your closet to a full-size rack in your house basement. But most of the friends I know that play home labs or is a home labber have a setup in the middle like this. So they have a little rack sitting in their maybe house or in their room for testing their own services. But in recent years, I'm seeing more and more people trying to replace subscription services with the self-host one. For example, like WordPress to replace Medium, or Nextcloud to replace Google Drive or Dropbox, Jellyfin to replace Netflix. So many of the open source projects are starting to replace subscription services out there. And this is why a reverse proxy is kind of important, because a reverse proxy can help forward those requests in your home lab setups. So what is a reverse proxy? A reverse proxy is a server that sits between your downstream and your upstream servers. So downstream, for example, like your laptop, your phone, your mobile devices, and the upstream is like the origin servers of your home lab system, like your web server. Let's say you don't have a reverse proxy. What you need to do is that, and you buy a domain name, for example. If you have a domain name and a subdomain or other domain you own, you need to point it to a dedicated public IP address. But most of you using the network at home, your ISP only give you one public IP address to play with. So instead, a reverse proxy can help you to forward the request using just single public IP address to a device in your local area network. It can be in your local area network or somewhere else on the internet, doesn't matter. But the important point is that you can point multiple domain and subdomain to one single public IP address. And especially in home lab situations where you're running a lot of open source projects by different developers and written in different languages, a reverse proxy is really helpful to help you forward different subdomains to a dedicated service in your home lab, maybe in a virtual machine or in a containers that handle such requests. For example, in this example here, you can see that I can forward Jellyfin to a Jellyfin with a port 8096 or Portainer with 9443, etc. And of course, for such an important piece of software, there are already open source solution out there. One of the most famous one, or the traditional one, what people would choose is the Apache and Nginx. But if you have used these before, you will know that you need to have text configuration files and lots of plugin configured in order to use something like WebSocket proxy or GeoIP access control. So it's not technically beginner friendly. And for more recent solutions out there, including the KD servers, which is written in Golang, by the way, still require text-based configurations. And Terrific proxy only work under Kubernetes, and its UI can only do really simple configurations. And for those who have a little bit experience about this, you might wonder why I don't recommend Nginx proxy managers. Well, Nginx proxy manager, or the npm, is one of the projects that most recommend on Reddit because it was the one that have a decent UI. And the downside is that it required Docker to install, so it didn't run on Windows. And this project isn't maintained anymore since 2021. So you can see that they have 1.3k issues blaming the project is broken, doesn't work. And they do have a V3 coming soon, but there's no update since 2021, so I doubt it will come anytime soon. That is why I decided to write my own reverse proxy server. And that is where this project comes in, this Zoraxy. So what is Zoraxy? Zoraxy is an open source reverse proxy server solution with some handy networking tools. currently licensed under AGPL, support Linux and Windows. Everything is packed inside a single binary files. You don't need to do installations or Docker containers. And it also have a beginner-friendly, straightforward design and automatic config generators and protocol switching. So basically, we're trying to automate a lot of things in a reverse proxy system where usually people need to manually config. Many people switching from Nginx proxy managers are complaining my software is too simple. So if you want to try it, you can start with this project. I want to give a little bit details on this project. So Zoraxy in its core is a reverse proxy server based on HTTP2. It supports virtual directories, WebSocket proxy, basic auth, alias, hostname, custom headers, access control, and load balancing, which is basically the fundamentals of what modern reverse proxy provides. It also supports redirection and TLS related features, including ACME, so you can get your free HTTPS certificate using this software. It supports SNI, so if you have multiple domain or subdomain, it can handle it for you. And support DNS challenge, so if you want a wildcard certificate, you can also generate it using Zoraxy. It provides access control managers, so blacklist, whitelist, and rate limiting. Global area network controller with zero tier. Zero tier is not included due to license issue, but with these features, you can connect multiple computers in a subnetwork or under NAT network together to create a cluster. It also supports stream proxy, so TCP UDP proxy for your maybe Minecraft servers, and uptime monitors, SSH terminal back on, and a lot of utilities where you can check it out on my GitHub repo. One of the key features of Zoraxy is the UI and UX design. As you can see that it has a really modern, sleek design, and some of the interface kind of resemble some other open source projects, including the default site settings and the HTTP proxy list, which we are trying to reference Nginx proxy manager design as much as possible. And if you used Lightstyle before, you may resemble these SSH terminals. You can create an SSH terminal on your web browser and control other computer in your network. It has an uptime monitor that's somehow similar to Uptime Kuma. And it also provides a lot of statistical analysis, so you can know where your clients, your visitors coming from and what they are interested in. So I guess most of you have never heard of this project before because this is a really new project. This project starts around 2021 as a subsurface to RSOS. RSOS is my open source NAS operating system. If you're interested, you can check it out as well. And in 2023, it split off as a dedicated project. And after a few months and years, now we are currently in the Zoraxy version 3. So one of the reasons why you don't see a reverse proxy, open source and pop up every day is because reverse proxy is really difficult to write. If you want to make sure a reverse proxy server is compatible with other open source projects, you need to test a lot of things. You need to configure a lot of special headers depending on how the traffics are coming in, what they have in the headers or in their cookies. And of course, we don't have time to test all of the open source project and make sure it works with other open source projects. So we designed one of the most amazing thing we have ever done is test in productions. And where we can find free testers, we put it on Reddit. And after we put it on Reddit, the star count just exploded, and people are starting to using it as an Nginx proxy manager. This project originally designed for myself, though I didn't design it to look like an Nginx proxy managers. But Nginx proxy managers users are coming in and using this project as a replacement and asking for a lot of requests on enhancing the UI element or feature of Zoraxy, so it become more and more close to Nginx proxy managers. You can see that it kind of resembles the Nginx proxy manager design on the UI. We didn't copy it. We just tried to reference the design and features. Okay. And after the third month of open source, people are complaining why it doesn't support Docker. So because I don't use Docker, that is why I pull in another contributors who use Docker and created the Docker support for Zoraxy. So in recent version, it's getting more and more production ready, but still use it on your own risk, right? Next, I want to talk about how Zoraxy is built different than other open source reverse proxy solutions out there. So first of all, Zoraxy is written in Golang. Many people confuse that Zoraxy is a UI for Nginx or KDE, but it is actually a brand new reverse proxy project where we've written it from the bottom up. The good thing of using Golang is that you only need to write it once, and it runs on Windows and Linux with different CPU architectures. You can try it on RISC-V development board. You can try it on Open.rt, any platform it can run. It also self-contained, so you don't need a GeoIP compilers or runtime. And with the help of Go-embed, we can even embed the web user interface into the exe file or the ELF files on Linux. So what you need to deploy, you just double-click a exe file on Windows, and then you have your brand new reverse proxy running. But the disadvantages of using Golang is it has a large binary size, and it didn't have drop-in plugins. So if anyone have an idea how to fix this, please let me know. And this is the overall architecture of Zoraxy. So it's a little bit more complex compared to a traditional reverse proxy server, but I will go through it quickly. So first of all, you have your user device, like your browsers, your smartphone here. It goes for a TLS router, so it will automatically pick the certificate that match your request host name. And afterward, it passes through something called a dynamic proxy routers. Why it's called dynamic, I'll talk about in the following subsections. And then it go into a special routers, where the special routers will check if the request coming in, if your IP is blacklisted or whitelisted, if you if it raise limits, it will check authentication if this endpoint has enabled basic auth, and check with is match any kind of special routing rules handling. For example, like this request is coming from Let's Encrypt, so it will check if this is for generating a certificate and etc. And afterward, it will go into the primary proxy router, where we handle the load balancing and protocol switching between HTTP and WebSocket proxy. Okay, let's get to the dynamic proxy. Zoraxy, I guess, is one of the few reverse proxy out there that implement hot reload and partial reload of sub-routers and modules. That means if you change anything in the configuration files, you don't need to restart the project itself, but it will change in real time. And actually, we are planning to adding more high availability features, HA features, including automatic failovers, multi-node config sync, and heartbeats. And the magic of how we can do it in real time is that you can see that the definition has a lot of pointers here. And this pointer is the magic to make it able to do hot reload. What we are doing is that for each request, we have pointed to a configuration files where it is handled by a dedicated modules in our system. So in the dynamic proxy and the DP core is a two dedicated system where the configuration files is stored in the dynamic proxy and the actual proxy is done inside the DP core. What we can achieve here is that, let's say you have a reverse proxy that have high traffics, a concurrent traffics coming in. What we do is a pointer swap, and then we can allow the previous request that is using the old config to continue to progress with their request, and the new request will be using the new config. And after the old request has terminated, the GC will come up and clean up the old configs, so everything can be hot swap and hot reload without the needs of restarting Zoraxy. And also, Zoraxy is one of the rare projects out there that use UI-driven design. So if you work in DevOps or CloudOps, you know that most infrastructure are delivered as code, IAC, in the tech industry. And Zoraxy is one of the few that use UX first design in mind. It even supports Adaptive, so I don't know, maybe one day you forgot to bring a laptop to work, then you can use your smartphone to control your whole infrastructures. And we try to minimize the operation cost for small businesses and make home laborers' life easier. One of the key features of Zoraxy is the statistical analysis. We don't use cookie because cookie is a little bit troublesome in European countries. Data collected in Zoraxy is purely based on the header sniffing method. So if your website is proxy via, let's say, Cloudflare will actually inject some headers into the request to send into your reverse proxy server. And by observing these headers, we can kind of guess where your clients or your requests coming from, and maybe what country they are coming from or what they're interested in. Talking about what country they are from, in order to convert an IP address to a GeoIP, a geographical locations, you need something called a GeoIP resolver. And in Zoraxy, GeoIP resolver is done completely offline and standalone. What it means is that it is safe for commercial use, and with the help of a custom written tree, which is a data structure that helps resolve IP addresses, we will be able to achieve a near O1 speed in resolving the request IP address into a country code. But the downside of this design is that it will take around 1 GB of RAM just to buffer all the requests. So for routers or low-end devices, we have a fallback mode that runs slower but use less memories. So maybe I talk about Zoraxy 2 here. You might be started interested in using Zoraxy. So I want to introduce you a few more features about Zoraxy that might get you interested. First of all, if you are very into security and you love to see your security headers report get an A, you can use Zoraxy's built-in tools to config permission policies and enable HSTS in the headers. We also even got a web editor like this one. You can just go into the Zoraxy user interface and take the permission you want to use on your website to get an A grade in the security header scan. This is not cheating, this is legal, so don't worry about that. With the help of Alan Young, who is one of our primary contributors, we also get built-in ACMG and DNS Challenger into Zoraxy. What it means is that if you're using other projects like npm, for example, it depends on some other dependency like certbot or acmd.sh, which is another open source project integrated into this open source project. But in Zoraxy, we do everything embedded inside binary files. So even on Windows, you can do a native DNS challenge and ACMG challenge with no external dependencies. Zoraxy also supports SNISN certificate. In other Rails proxy, you need to manually map a certificate to a domain or host name. But in Zoraxy, it is fully automatic. So if you add your certificate to the list, then it would know how to pick the correct certificate for you. Everything is automated here. And lastly, in the most recent version, we added the weight load balancer. So let's say you are deploying for some complex infrastructure or a few nodes sometime will die in your system for no reasons, then this might be helpful. So currently we have around 20 to 21K users, and most of them are using it in Docker environments. So I guess most of you know what is Docker, right? Or have used Docker before. And Docker have a different port or different IP address bound from the Docker environment. And with Zoraxy, you can proxy all the requests with a subdomain. For example, like portainer nextcloud.example.com pointing to your Nextcloud container or your portainer container. Zoraxy do works in Docker, but if you have no experience in configuring Docker files and debugging Docker network, it's usually recommended to run it in host environment so that it will try to automate things for you. And after Zoraxy, my distributed home lab setup becomes something like that. So I have a few Zoraxy nodes in Hong Kong and my Taiwan university lab and my home, and all link up with Zoraxy and zero tiers, proxying every services through a single domain and subdomains. Although this project is not production ready, but many people already use it in production, including myself. There are also a few more startup companies and design studio trying this project on their production environment. So you can use it. It is stable from my experience. So use it at your own risk. One of the issues we are facing right now is that we get so many new users coming in, and they are all networking beginners like me 2 years ago. So if you have a little bit network background and you're interested in this project, feel free to contribute by helping others and telling them how networking works in basics, and replying issues, especially those issues with no information provided. Just say my thing don't work. Those issues. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you want to know more about this project or try it on your old router, old PC, or old Raspberry Pi, feel free to scan this QR code and get a copy. Thank you.
So may I know if there's any questions for Toby? Yeah, yes, please.
我也会讲中文。
因为我想说这个英文译成的话，我是想说，管理界面可以用 LDAP 登或者是那个 SSO 登吗？还是它需要手动创建管理账号？
现在是用一个很简单的 key value database 在传的账户，但是之后有 SSO 的 integration， 对，已经在开发中了。还有些问题吗？嘿，请问。好。
就是我很好奇，就是这个 proxy 它的 performance 有跟就是已经存在的一些
稍微比较慢一点，因为当你要设计 UX first 的时候，就是很多的那个 storage 的逻辑，就要根据你 UI 的设计来安排。所以就是我们后面的 configuration file 是 JSON-based 的，那 JSON facing 的部分会稍微慢一点点，对。但是对于一般小型的，例如说公司或者是自己 home lab 来用的话，是蛮足够的。例如说我自己的网页的话，每天大概是45K 到50K 的 request 是完全没有问题的，对。好，还有其他想问的吗？嘿，请问？你说这个吗？就是通常你放在实验室，或者放在你跟房东租的房子里面的时候，它上面会有一层 NAT， 那层 NAT 你打不穿出去的。你无论是你去用神奇的方法去抓到房东路由器的密码，或者说你用 UPnP 尝试用打洞的方法去打出去，其实有时候蛮难打的。那 Zero Tier 的可以帮你去建立一个在2个 NAT 环境下面的一个连接。那这样子的话，假设你家里是像我这种情况，就是没有一个 public IP address 的，你可以先租一个最便宜的 VPS， 然后透过那个 VPS 用 Zero Tier 的连接跟你家里可能一台 NAS 这样子连上去。那这样子你就可以不用付 block storage 的钱，都可以用到 VPS 的 public IP address 来连到你家里的伺服器了。对，还有其他问题吗？好，对，大概就这样。好。
那如果没有的话，抱歉，我也会说国语。对，那如果没有的话呢？那我们今天一层轨就这边最后一个你有问题哦？好，OK。
没问题。对 ，Zoraxy 还没有一个完整的 CI/CD 的流程。现在 testing 的部分大概只 cover 到10几%吧。CI/CD 的部分也只会做，就是后面写好之后，我们去 push 上去之前，做一个 automation 的 building 的这样子。但是还没有一个完整的 automation test 跟一个 feedback 的 report 出来。对，暂时还没有就是 production ready。对，如果这里有任何 DevOps 的想 contribute 一下，也可以找我。这个怎么？
所以真的没有问题了吗？OK，cool。